All right, all right. Here we are. It is From the Margins with James Lapont and yours truly, David Washington. How are you, Jimmy?
It's a great day to be alive. It's a great day to be seen. Like my grandfather always taught me, it's always good to be seen because the alternative is not a good one.
Isn't that the truth? Indeed, indeed.
So,
Okay,
when
Jimmy.
so
We've got a show now. We've got a lot to talk about.
okay, good. So, I see the title is King Protests and Wars. Kind of
Yeah,
interesting title, especially when we take the incidents of last weekend into its proper perspective.
indeed.
Particularly, I will congratulate the more than 2,000 cities that held a No One's a King protest. You did it very well organized. There was nothing that came up that we could say that we regret, that we were embarrassed by, or we were ashamed by. You behaved magnificently. I wish I could say that for something else. That is not in the title, but something that's very important to me to bring up. The shootings on Saturday scare me, not in the way that you might think. Look, I'm at my age. I've been controversial in my life. As a matter of fact, some people who have met me recently said, "You're not as bad as I heard," and I'm going like, "Damn, I don't know if that's a compliment, but thank you." Uh, and I took it to heart, but realistically, this person had a list of people he wanted to kill. Okay, and that included some Republicans that he thought were not MAGA enough. Not that he thought that anything, but that he thought they were not MAGA enough.
Right.
Right now, the threats to politicians is high, but at the same time, we're knowing that there's incidents where people are basically getting to fights over this divide that the country has and has been created. Look, I believe in free speech, not like Bill Maher. Bill Maher doesn't believe in free speech. He calls that, he says, but he doesn't. If you don't agree with him, you're crazy. And if you don't agree with him, he would have no problem if you being silenced. So, said that, look, I understand that free speech is you can say anything you want to say about me, and God knows that as in this podcast, there's been some good compliments, but there's been some not so nice compliments. Okay, I'll call it out. Have I ever sat down and said, I want to address this? No, I don't care. It's skin off my nose. That's your opinion. And like I was taught in law school, everybody has a constitutional right to be stupid, and some people execute it to the max. So that's fine. You can do it. I don't. That's free speech. What there's not in this country is the freedom to kill simply because I
Right.
disagree with you. You might have the right if somebody's attacking you to do so. As a matter of fact, the other day somebody said, it's going to, sooner or later, it's going to come up the stand your ground laws in Florida that these people are coming mass to your house and breaking down the doors with no idea whatsoever. If you shoot them and kill them, can you get away with it? That's a good question. Uh, the person is hiding their face. That should scare somebody and they're breaking down my doors. I don't know who you are and I'm shooting you. Do I have
Right.
that right? That's a good question. Uh, and I say this because people tend to think, because I don't know, sometimes it's, there is a 30% of what we call best search warrants that people police enter the wrong house. We
Right.
had the incident that they killed a young lady
Yeah.
and they were in the wrong house. Oh, we're sorry. We didn't mean to do this. It's okay. We're
Right.
cops. We could get away with it. We could kill people in their houses for no good reason.
Right.
We get away with it. Now, what's the reverse? What's going to happen if you break into my house? I'm not an illegal immigrant. I am a person who's here legally, and I feel threatened by you. Can I kill you? That's a good question. But the question here is what happened in Minnesota is something that scares me. It scares me because this is not the first, this is not the second, this is not the third. According to the news media, this is happening at an alarming rate of more than 30 or 35 times a year that is reported. And why
Wow.
is this reported? Because you're shooting at a politician. If you
Yeah.
shoot to your neighbor because I'm pissed off with you because you have a Trump sign in your yard and I don't like it, or you have a Harris sign in your and I don't like it, that is another issue. Or like the old movie Gran Torino, that he pointed guns to everybody. He had no problem. Uh, so that scares me. But again, I want to congratulate the people who protested this weekend. There was nothing to be ashamed of. There's nothing to be uh, 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 commented about other than great job. And maybe it was a great job. You know why?
What's that, Jimmy?
It was not organized by the Democratic Party.
Oh, well, it was organized in part by the indivisible people, and the right has definitely taken the left to task for that. Because they called out the leadership of Indivisible as being, Marxist, socialist, whatever. I've seen the reports. I did a little background check on the founders and the organizers of Indivisible, and I'm just like, I'm just going to go down the wormhole, let them have, their no kings, protests, and let's just move on. I'm just happy to see civic engagement.
Look, when did it become a problem? And I'm going to say this. This is the problem. We have freedom of speech. We have freedom.
Right.
Are these the most people? No. But I hate to say this.
Okay.
Why are we on the left or whatever we are? Because if you're not with them, you're on the left. That's the stupidity of these morons who call themselves now MAGAs. Because they used to be conservatives, but they're no longer conservative. Now they're MAGAs. Which, by the way, they're
Right.
divided in two, but they're MAGAs.
Yeah.
Make America white again. Yes, I understand that. I really do. The problem that I have with it, is as follows: is that the best you could come to? Did you say that we're liberals, that we're to the left? That's the best you could come up. You don't want to argue the point of, hey, you're wrong. He's not a king. Hey, you're wrong. You're offending him. Hey, you're wrong. What you're saying is untrue. No, 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 no. We don't argue that because that doesn't have any merit. Because you have not a leg to stand on. So what do? Get from the left. The left is bad. Look, the left liberated the slaves. The left took the economy to where it is today. The left gave the women the vote. The left created Head Start, created the Environmental Protection Agency was created by a Republican. Believe it or not. But
Yeah,
that's
that's
how
true.
far they've gone
Under
from the
Nixon.
roots. So basically, if you the only thing you can say is that this is a group from the left, like that means something, well, then I'm going to call you out. You're a group of morons who don't have the intelligence to argue the points. All you could do is say that somebody is from the left, and
Mhm.
you are from the morons to the right. Bingo.
Fair
Now
enough.
bring it on. Because what I'm trying to push is, look, if you can say to me, look, he's not a king. No, he's not acting like a king. You people are wrong. You're categorizing it unfairly. Look at all the good things he's done. No, 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 no. You don't have the capacity to discuss that. What you say is, those people from the left, they have some bad track records. Look, we all have bad track records. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we
For
do.
some people
We do.
on the right, the mere fact that you're from Chicago is bad enough for them. Because some of these MAGA people, everything that comes out of Chicago is bad. But,
Yeah, I've heard it.
you've heard it, and we have all. So what I'm trying to say is, look, let's argue the issues. If you want to argue the issue that it was not well organized, you can't because It was well organized. You want to say that they were out of hand and they were violent and they were, you can't argue that because it didn't happen. So what do you have left? The organizers have some bad things in their past. Hey, you want to talk about bad things in the past? You have a president that's a convicted felon. You have a president who was sued in civil court for raping a woman. So let's stop pretending that, you know, the left is the only one that has a past. Your president has a real past. So, like they say back home, he who lives in Crystal homes should not throw stones.
Very true.
But really, I'm sick and tired. Let's have an argument with facts, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you want to come and say, look, they what they were saying was a lie. This is not true. That is not true. And that's why I'm trying to invite this country, because the only thing that right now is you're from the left, so you're stupid and evil. You're from, well, I can't say the right, because really, I grew up knowing what a conservative is. I don't agree with them, but I respect them. But I can't call the MAGA people conservative. I won't. I refuse to. And the only thing I can call them is enablers. They have enabled a president to act the way he's acting. And as long he can do whatever he wants, and that's okay with them. But God forbid that Biden do this or do that, they're bad. God forbid Obama did a couple of things that they question to this day. So it's going to be an interesting thing.
Right. When you talk about MAGA and enabling the president, MAGA is the cult of personality of Donald Trump. MAGA is definitely the Trump party. There's no Republican Party anymore. Given what the president is going through right now and the decision to be involved in the war between Iran and Israel, he has to weigh the backlash, as we saw in the Tucker Carlson Senator Ted Cruz interview, the backlash from the MAGA contingent regarding his decision making. The MAGA is Trump. Trump is MAGA. This is the new Republican Party. Aren't they supposed to enable their guy?
You see, there's where I differ.
Okay.
Trump is an opportunistic person.
Definitely. Transactional. Definitely.
He's very transactional. He saw through Fox News and through Tucker Carlson, Hamilton, and all these other people that there was this group. And he did not invent the phrase, make America great again.
Oh,
that
yes.
That existed before he came around.
Yes.
Way back. He took it to another level.
Mm-hmm.
What he did is he took all the factions of it and basically took control away of the Republican Party and uses the Republican Party as a way to get elected and elect his people. Right. Most of the people that are today in what you would call the Republican Party are not traditional Republicans, and they're not conservatives. And 90% of them are people who want to maintain their relatives in office. And basically, they know how to do that is to kiss Donald Trump's ass. Okay. And not argue with him and not say you're wrong or you're stupid. Even Tucker Carlson is not attacking Trump. He's attacking what he calls those enablers who are trying to get us committed into a war that we should not be committed into. There is where you have a problem with the MAGA, the division within the MAGA. Look, Tucker Carlson, you might criticize him, but he's part of that movement. Ted Cruz, in the interview, Ted Cruz was never a MAGA person. He became a MAGA person to survive.
Yes.
To survive and maintain his job. That's fine. As a matter of fact, he ran against the president and said things that nobody else has said since about Donald Trump. So you have that fight. You have the Hannitys and you have the Lindsey Graham saying that we should get involved in the war. Then you have the Tucker Carlsons the Bobbits and the Marjorie Taylor Greene saying we should not. Uh, that this war has created a division, and no matter which way the president goes, is going to accentuate this division. Look, there are those like Steve Bannon, who doesn't believe we should go to war, and Steve Bannon was MAGA before Trump even thought about being Republican.
That's true.
That's true. So it's it is certain thing, and the thing that is coming up here is the other thing that nobody's talking about because it's kind of too early to mention. But then the divide has another purpose and another reason. Everybody knows that he could joke about it. He cannot run in 2028. He could joke about it, but there's no way can run. As a matter of fact, he might not even be alive in 2028. Not that they could have killed him, but it's just
Right.
a heart attack. Because the man doesn't take care of him. The junk that he eats from McDonald's and from Kentucky Fried Chicken, all that stuff is not healthy. I'm sorry. Yeah. From somebody who had two stems, I've been told what to eat. I know that all that junk is not healthy. Right. So the push here is who's going to take over the movement or the party? Is it going to be Tucker, Bobbitt, Marjorie Greene? Is it going to be Hannity? Is it going to be Vance? There is a struggle of who's going to be the survivor. Okay? And that's why none of them are attacking him. You notice that Tucker Carlson's a very smart guy. He attacked Ted Cruz, somebody that Trump tolerates, but if you offend him, he's okay with it. So the person he tried to attack was him. And to get out his message saying, why are we going to war in something that has not attacked us? And, and so it is interesting to see how they're going to survive. But, everybody does that in a different way. Some of them know that once Trump is gone, they might as well make as much money with their corruption as they can and go away. Like our former Attorney General, Pam Bondi, whose corruption has reached beyond measures that can be sustained. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to bring the news to all of you. There was a former governor of Puerto Rico named Wanda Vasquez. Wanda Vasquez was governor by chance. She was not elected. That's the truth. When they kicked out in 2019 the governor of Puerto Rico for corruption, the people of Puerto Rico just stopped everything for 10 days and the party abandoned him and Rosselló had to go. The Secretary of State said I'm gone out of here. So she was a Secretary of Justice. She became the governor under secession. She was not elected.
Okay.
She said she was not going to run, but after having great dinners and treatment at the governor's mansion, she said, I like this. I can get used to this. So she decided to stay. And she got together with somebody who came and said, look, your person in Texas is driving me crazy and is asking me too many questions. I'll give you so much if you make it disappear. Long story short, it did. Long story short, the U.S. Attorney General, office in Puerto Rico, charged her and has substantial proof. And she was about to go to trial, and somebody told her that what she needed to do is forget about taking this to trial, and she should hire Attorney Christopher Geis. Does anybody know that name? K-I-S-E.
No, that name's not familiar to me.
That was one of the attorneys of Donald Trump.
Really? Smart.
Good friend, and has a cell number of Attorney Pam Bondi because they're both from Florida.
Okay.
The records show she paid him $3 million for her representation. Wow. I'm an attorney. I've never charged anybody $3 million, but okay.
Oh, shit.
He called Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi ordered the Attorney General from Puerto Rico to come to our office. She made a decision after a conversation with Christopher Kais to drop all charges and allow her to plead to misdemeanors. To misdemeanors, which normally misdemeanors, first offense, do not have jail time. We're looking at 20 felonies to 2 misdemeanors. None involving fraud or corruption, for the record. More like you should know better misdemeanors. Okay. And the Attorney General in Puerto Rico said, the U.S. Attorney in Puerto Rico said, I cannot accept this. She said, you have 2 choices. Whether you do this or you resign. He did not resign. He's going to do it. Now, you want to think that that's something okay. Fine. I'm an attorney. I will negotiate for my clients as much as I can. But if you think that $3 million was a little bit too much when he didn't took a deposition, when he didn't review the case, when he didn't even sit down and discuss the matters with the U.S. Attorney's Office in Puerto Rico, when he didn't even prepare for trial, and the only thing he had is that he had the cell number of Pam Bundy and convinced her to drop the charges. Now, the question in Puerto Rico is a question that a lot of people are asking. And I'm going to say it's a question. Pam Bundy, did you take any of those $3 million? Because right now, the concept of the Trump government and the U.S. Attorney's Office is that corruption is not a crime. Political corruption is normal. Political corruption can be forgiven. Look, I am not for putting Wanda Vasquez in jail. That's not where I'm coming from. I'm using this because this proves how corrupt the Donald Trump government is. When you could call the Attorney General and say, hey, I'm your buddy. I just got $3 million. I want you to drop all charges. Sure, no problem. Charges dropped. Look, all the attorneys that reviewed the case in Puerto Rico told Wanda Vasquez, you're going, if this goes to trial, you're gone. Okay? The 2 people who were charged with her were sentenced to 10 and 15 years.
Oh.
3%. So that shows you,
Jimmy.
That shows you a lot. It is kind of interesting, but this is something that in my lifetime I've never seen an attorney general getting involved in local charges of a local jurisdiction in which basically the case was solid against that person, and they say, no, you're going to drop charges and give that order. So, Pam, where I come from, if it quacks like a duck and it walks like a duck, it's a duck. This thing's beyond comprehension, Pam. You might want to come clean and tell the people of the United States what you did and that you and how you feel you did nothing wrong, because this is the part that a lot of people are starting to talk about: corruption and the appearances of corruption. Okay, the appearances of corruption. So basically, at this point, that's one thing that we need to get involved with.
Wow, Jimmy, that's significant allegations, and I'm sure there'll be subpoenas for bank accounts. Find out where did that $3 million go?
Well, who's going to issue them? The federal government? No, Pam will forbid it. She would never allow her buddy Christopher Kais to issue a subpoena for him to give anything, or for the banks that have his accounts to give anything. No, she's not going to authorize it. That Attorney General down in Puerto Rico, his hands, his legs, and his mouth are mold. It's not going to happen. Look, wow. And that's the part that bothers me the most. That you would say that the officers who should be checking this are the ones who are saying no. The officers should be saying, hey, is there corruption? Do you think that Pam Bondi's going to authorize the United States
The
Justice Department,
DOJ.
the DOJ, to investigate any of Trump's cronies. Look, right now, you want to talk about, look, this one is not corruption. This is just taking advantage. But the Trumps have just created a cell phone, basically, business. They call it the Trump phone.
Mhm.
We know it. And basically, when have you ever seen a president use his name in a business venture while he's in office? As a matter of fact, I've even seen one after. No, Bill Clinton went and saw influence, yes, and got
Yes.
money after he became president. Yes, he did. I'm not going to try to pretend because well, what about Bill Clinton? Yeah, but he did it after office. In office, he didn't have the brains how to be that corrupt. Um, so, yes, but here is open. I go to Saudi Arabia, I get a jet. I go to Saudi Arabia and I get permits to build the Trump Towers. I go to I piss off Vietnam. I get permits to put Trump Towers and in exchange of dropping the terms. Look, it's open. But what bothers me is that now criminals can get out of jail. That's the
Mhm.
one about. Even though we do know that he's been going crazy with his pardons, and most of the people he's pardoned are people who. So yeah, but those are his buddies. See, he
Yeah.
doesn't see anything wrong doing that because he does them himself.
He
For him,
values, there's no doubt he values loyalty and those who show admiration for him. The January 6th rioters, for
mm,
instance, the mass subpoenas, I'm sorry, not subpoenas, but uh, pardons that he offered to them, even to what's my friend's name, Stewart, the gentleman who pretty much planned all of this. Elmer Stewart, his last name will pop up for me, but he had his sentence reduced, and a lot of these guys are still out there. Some of them have returned to jail for unrelated charges, but uh, Trump Trump will honor loyalty and admiration. And
and this is the difference between the left and the MAGAs.
mhm,
Stop calling them the right because they're not.
mhm.
Uh, they're the, people got pissed off because there was a couple of people did stupid stuff in Los Angeles. And I'm going to say, yes, they did. Okay, they did. But compared to January 6th, they didn't kill anybody. How many police officers died in January 6th? You don't want people spitting on them because you
Actually,
see
Bobby
Russian
died.
guard out there. You say, we're spitting on the cops. But it's okay. I'm going to pardon those who killed the cops because they're loyal to me
Mhm.
and because they're white. As a matter of fact, Orlando Centeno had a cartoon where it shows that the MAGA people are pissed off because people are waving other flags. Well, guess what? Believe it or not, we forget about the Mexico war that we had, and we took away Nevada, we took away Arizona, we took away uh, California, and basically we had another war and we took away Texas. But all that was part of Mexico in the good old days. As a matter of fact, the state that you and I reside, the name is Florida, and it was purchased from Spain, but it was a Spanish uh, possession. What I'm trying to get is to people when you try to talk about things, you might want to realize what you're talking about. You're great. Look, Trump was in the White House, and the German chancellor brought him a birth certificate of his grandfather, who was born in Germany.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that the German chancellor did that. Okay.
He did that. He brought, hey, here. And he was like kind of embarrassed. And then he said, yeah, but he became a good American citizen. And he left that country because he didn't like that country. No, he came to this country looking for like everybody else, looking for a better opportunity.
Right.
But doesn't mean that he hated his country. So, but it was kind. And one of the things that the president never put up, the German chancellor brought him the birth certificate of his grandfather, who was born in Germany. So we're not talking that far away. It was not a great, 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 great. No, no. It was his grandfather who was born in Germany. So these are the things that we need to understand. Look, the left needs to grow a pair of cojones. Did we these? Did the people in Los Angeles burn a couple of tires, burn some cars that were sent in there to spy in them? Because they weren't, those cars were there with cameras to spy on them, and they decided, hey, you can spy on your mama. So yes, they destroyed them. I compare that to the measurement of January 6th. January 6th, Los Angeles. January 6th, death. Los Angeles, 0 death. And that's the problem that we have. Oh, well, we should not be acting like that. We should not say those words. Look, you go to a MAGA movement, meaning they call us assholes. They call us motherfuckers. They call us liberals, assholes, and all those things. Well, guess what? If what comes around goes around. Look, if you call me a name, I'm going to call you back. But the problem that I have is that we don't want to sit down to discuss the issues. The issues of the day are as follows. One, are you better financially than you were under Biden? The answer to that is no. Two, the fact that they deported all the people that they deported, did that give you a better paying job? The answer is no. Mm-hmm. Three, the fact that we put tariffs on products, did that make the economy better? The answer is no. Do you feel great that Canada, people in Europe, people in South and Central America, people in Korea, people in Japan don't like us anymore? If you feel better with that, that's fine. Do you feel safer worldwide that right now people in Israel are doing whatever they want because nobody's supervising them? The war that he promised you, and I'm going to say this, Donald Trump promised the people in the United States that before he took office, he will settle the war in Ukraine. It's still going. Okay?
On day one.
And day one, and we're almost in day 185. So yes, I'm saying this with all due to all of you. Stop pretending that everything is better or equal. It's not even close. So the truth is, what are we going to do about it? Well, look, maybe we need to stop voting, not for parties, not for ideology, but for what is going to put money in my pocket, what's going to give me peace at night to sleep, and acts in a responsible adult way. And if we do that, we should be in great shape.
Jimmy, let's take that part right there before you go further. And it wasn't until it was probably maybe in the last day or two that this conversation came up on one of the podcasts I was listening to, and then right back. Oh, I know what it was. The down ballot, I believe it was, and right after. They said almost exactly what you said about kitchen table issues, money in my pocket as an American. They went into a conversation about trans rights and pride and men and women's sports. And I'm like, whoa, have you not learned your lesson? Have you not understood what happened in 2024? Have you checked the pulse of America in regards to those particular issues? They were right there, Jimmy, right there. And when you don't have an effective leadership in the DNC to convey that message, it just makes it that much harder when your surrogates are on their podcast and they're sending mixed messages.
The problem is hard to break off with old habits. Look, there's people in the party that think that two things. That if they take a little bit more to the right, that the people on the right are going to turn against Donald Trump and vote for them.
No,
Stupid. It's not going to happen.
no, that's not going to happen.
And the leader of that is Bill Maher. He really believes that we need to get away as far as we can from the left and that. The problem that the Democratic Party has is that the only persons left really loyal to the party is the left. The people in the middle voted against Biden and Kamala because they didn't believe in him. They really did not vote for Donald Trump. What happened here is the phenomenon of those who stayed home that helped Trump get elected. It was not that our people left us and voted for him.
There's truth to that, yes.
Okay. The people who are talking right now have a personal interest. I don't. I'm a Democrat who realizes that I'm not going to hold office, that some people, even in my party, think that I'm crazy or I'm too outspoken, which there's some degree of truth to that. I'm not going to hide that one. But they think that they have to keep that side happy. Look, the left is not all. Let me tell you, people who podcast and people who think you understand the left. I am a liberal. Progressive is my insurance company. I am never hit what I am. But does that mean that I have to be transgender, talking about that all the time? No. I'm a firm believer as a person on the left that everybody has a constitutional right to be free and should not be prosecuted and should not be chastised because of their beliefs. That's fine. And that includes the MAGAs, who believe that people like that should have no rights. That's their opinion, and as a liberal, I will respect that. We have to all learn to live together. Yes. But the problem is if let's talk about what government can do. Government cannot change minds. As much as Donald Trump tries to pretend that, government cannot change minds. Government does not and should not be dictating how people act. That is communism. Government is there for your roads, for your protection, and to make sure that there's food on your table. Everything else is your personal opinion, which Donald Trump brings it into picture. And let me tell you, that's the problem with the left too. Whoa, you want to attack something? Do. Look, Donald Trump complained the other day that people should obey him. When they joked about the thing of the king, he turned around and said, "What's so wrong about me being king?" He said that. Okay, why don't you chastise the conversation? Why don't you chastise, instead of talking about transgender, gay rights and stuff like that, why don't you talk about how they want to take away everybody's right to be free, to express themselves, to due process, okay? They're trying to create a state where basically, or you think their way or you're wrong. There's so many other areas left you could go to. We know that you're there for the minorities. Trust me. But I'm going to give you one line. You want to talk about minorities?
Okay.
You have two here. Okay.
That's
you
true.
take us for granted. I don't hear you in your podcast saying how still in this country Hispanics are now being detained because we speak Spanish, and you're going to the Spanish markets, you're going to the Spanish areas, and you're arresting people simply because you're assuming that all Hispanics are here illegally. Okay? I don't hear you in your podcast talking about that. Okay? I don't hear you talking about how still in this day the playing field for African Americans is not the same that for a white person. I don't hear you talking about that. But you want both of us to vote for you. And when we don't vote for you, you wonder why not.
Fair enough.
So if you want to talk about a minority that is being abused, look, I'm going to say this as an Hispanic man. I've never been more fearful of my well-being than I am right now.
Mm.
Because I like to go to Hispanic restaurants. As a matter of fact, the other day I was in a restaurant with my wife talking in Spanish, and I got looks. And I'm like, I was tempted to go turn around and say, fuck yourself, but I hold back. Could somebody from ICE come and say, they're speaking Spanish, we're arresting them because everybody who speaks Spanish here is illegal. That's something that if you want to talk about things, that you can talk about. Because that's not going to offend anybody, realistically. Even the MAGA people are having problems, and they went to the president and say, "Hey, don't take the people pick up the oranges and the strawberries and the raspberries because if not, we're not going to eat." Okay, and hey, stop the things in the hotels because if not, we won't have clean rooms.
Mm.
And those were MAGA people who got to him to stop.
Yeah.
God knows it was not as Hispanics. Okay. So that is something that we need to talk about. But yes, look, the problem for the left is that we don't have a leader. We don't have somebody out there calling the truth. And that's why I've been doing this podcast all this week, because I'm trying to find a direction for my party. My party is still like in the woods thinking, hey, we're going to win in 2026, the House.
Now,
What the fuck are you doing to do so? Oh, people hate them. No, they don't.
they don't.
They don't hate him.
And
They see him as the least evil because you're not doing anything. As a matter of fact, let me go right now to the Democratic fuck up of the week. I'm going to go right now because I think now that I'm going to chastise. Can I ask you a question? Do you know who Ken Martin is?
Yes, I do, sir. I do know who Ken Martin is. Should I elaborate?
Yeah, well, no. Did you see the great article that the New York Times wrote about him this week?
I did not read it. I was aware of it. It came on the heels, I think, of Randy Weingarten's leaving the DNC after 25 years, if that's what you're referencing.
Well, two things of that article. Two things. They criticize him, they chastise him, and right now, the DNC is looking to make a loan to borrow money so it could pay the staff, the overpaid staff who does shit. Okay? The New York Times calls for the resignation of Ken Martin.
Jimmy.
Okay?
So this got past me. This story got past me because I'm typically on top of political, New York Times, Washington Post, et cetera, et cetera. This story got past me. Seriously, this.
Okay. Yeah, because he doesn't call the donors. Okay, people don't send checks unless you call them. You and I have run political careers. When have we had a candidate that people just send the money without the candidate calling for money?
I know that's rare. That's rare.
Yeah. And that's a candidate that maybe I could think of, whoa, I could get something from this guy. Okay. What am I going to get from the DNC? Plus, you have the scandal of the DNC happening. Why do you think for the last 2 weeks I've been asking for the resignation of all of them?
Yes.
It's simply because they're not doing their job. Have they even? I'll give you an example. Yes, you said something that's very true. Some of the people in the organization that organized the King's protest have some questionable things. And really, when I say Christian, it's not a criminal. It's that, they might be to the left of even me, but
Your
that's as far as
affiliates.
it goes. Okay. I'm not going to say that they've done anything criminal. There's nothing in their past that is,
Right.
it's just, but they have some extreme views. Okay. You know who refused to help them and participate in that from what I'm hearing? And I cannot prove this one, but I've been hearing it from more than two people in the DNC. When Mr. Martin was called to ask for help, he said no.
That I did hear also, Jimmy. Yes.
Okay. So the DNC is doing nothing to get out the vote. It's doing nothing to do. But the one effective thing they did under it, they kicked out two vice presidents. We don't know who.
Yeah.
The
Representative Kenyatta's back. However, David Hogg has taken the ball and walked away. And walked away with $20 million that he was going to use to hold Democrats accountable.
and which he should. Okay.
Yes.
So the fuck up of the week is that the DNC has had a negative article come out of the New York Times. Now you can say, well, it was the New York Times. That's the most liberal newspaper in the country right now.
That's their bread and butter.
That's where people who consider themselves liberal look for information. That's an article that MAGA people are putting out to show how fucked up the party is. The MAGA people are using this against us. Okay? So if that's not the fuck up of the week, or of the month, or of the year, I don't know what is. So people, you in the party, again, I beg you to quit. Let new blood come in. The party needs to be restructured. The party needs a new leader. And I'm saying this with all due respect. These usual suspects are out too. Because if there's one thing that this country's taught us is that Republicans got up when they found somebody the people saw different from the rest of the party. Okay? Once we bring in somebody who's completely different, somebody who has a par de cojones to say to Donald Trump, you are corrupt, Mr. President. You have done nothing good for this country. You have even hurt this country. Maybe then the Democratic Party could come back. But I would be remiss if I don't mention the pre-calls of the fuck up of the week for Republicans, because there's two.
Before you get to that, Jimmy, to that last statement, someone to step up within the opposition, within the Democrats, and take on MAGA, take on Donald Trump, just like with the Tea Party movement, like I was mentioning in past podcasts, are the Democrats experiencing or want to experience their own Tea Party? Has that leader already walked away from the Democratic Party, the DNC?
No.
Okay.
No. Not yet, because I don't think that person is known to the Democratic Party as of this moment. I don't think they know who he is or she is. Let's not be sexist, Jimmy. Stop that. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
It's definitely not Jasmine Crockett, representative from Texas. It's not AOC. In all fairness, maybe
neither of those two can be. Look, this is the problem that the party has to understand. Every time a liberal has tried to position himself or herself to try to take over the party, the establishment has found a way to crush him. Look, we don't like to say this, but we had in 2016 and in 2020 a revival of our party. It was there. It was vibrant. It was pushing. It was involved. Yep. It was a thing of pleasure. But people got scared because it was a little to the left. Guess what? There was more movement in the Democratic Party under the candidacy of Bernie Sanders in 2016 than there was with Hillary Clinton.
Darn right.
I was a delegate to that convention in Philadelphia, and that was a flat convention. That was thrown under our throat that it had to be Hillary. 2020, we all know Bernie was winning. All of a sudden, Biden wins South Carolina. Small state. Delegate-wise, insignificant. But the thing changed, and they found a way to give it to Joe Biden, even though he had lost his 6 previous either caucus or primaries. Look.
Thank you, John Clyburn.
Yes, we have to find somebody who could take on the establishment and say, fuck you. I don't give a shit about you. I'm not going to kiss your ring. I'm not going to do what you want me to do. I'm here to save the party from you. From you. I'm here to save the party from you. You are the problem. You, if anybody needs to go, it's you. And start this from scratch. Look, one party started from scratch. It's doing pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't agree with anything that's coming out of it. But when people tell me it can't be done, it has been done. Sorry, it has been done. Does it have to be a billionaire? No. No. Bernie was a poor man when he did it. Okay? Yes, maybe it needs to be somebody who's not so much to the left, but is still a liberal and who could go and call out the MAGAs. And yes, we need to find that person because
Dean Phillips. I want to throw out the former representative from the great state of Minnesota, Dean Phillips. Just saying, he ran this.
Dean, I would have no problem with Dean at all. He is a great guy. The problem is that really he never got anybody motivated either.
Yeah.
He didn't get the votes. I'm liking somebody. We need somebody that if they throw at us, Kamala. Look, this is something that has happened. Okay, what we need is somebody,
right,
that doesn't go to the debates. Okay, doesn't go to the debates. And there's 8 Democrats out there from all the great different states, senators, congressmen, governors. They're debating, and when the people go to vote, they don't vote for any of those 8. They vote for the guy who wasn't even there. Oh, Jimmy, that would never happen in the politics of the United States. It kind of did. Or he decides to go to the debates and he acts like the crazy one. Anybody says, no way that crazy guy's going to win. Well, that's what he did. What I'm trying to get to is you have to break the mentality that politics are the same that they were in 1999 or even 2020. They're no longer the same.
That's correct, Jimmy.
When have we ever thought of a party twice nominating females and twice losing with a female?
Insanity.
We would have said that's not going to happen. It's not that they were females. It was they did not have a message. Look, you and I do politics. Somebody the other day joked to me about, because I personally in Orange County, and this is not bragging, this is true. I know the Commissioner of District 1 very well. Mm-hmm. I know the Commissioner of District 3 very well. Commissioner of District 4 very well. The Commissioner of District 5 very well. That's 4 out of 6. So some people tell me, hey, you have... And yes, I've got myself appointed to different boards. So yes. Okay. Why am I bringing this up? Is because simply sometimes you need somebody who does understand how politics works and can get around not having to use the state party.
Thank you.
If I need anything in Orange County, I would never call the Orange County DEC.
Agreed.
I will just go directly to So what we need to do is find somebody who could go directly to the people and say, "Hey, it's time for a change, and here's the change.
Correct.
Let's go for it." And for the record, if I could find that person, I'll campaign for him or her. Keep saying that. I'm because I know some people. You keep saying him, and so I'm okay. I have to say both because I have to be politically incorrect. Not correct, incorrect. Uh, so, with that said, let's go to the fuck ups of the week for the Republicans.
All right.
The Republican Party, FEMA, has just announced that the $150 million for the project of South Florida, for the flooding of South Florida, which we all know is imminent,
Right.
that money has been canceled.
Shit.
The money for Asheville, North Carolina, that voted 72% for Trump, canceled. So
Wow.
if you got hit by Milton up there real hard, you're on your own. That means replacement windows money? No. Roof money? No.
Wow.
A step further, the director of FEMA has said that any grant over $100,000 must be in her desk, must the person who's proposing it sit down and have a conversation with her. And she said, and very clear, that she's not going to look at this red versus blue. She's trying to break the United States out of the habit that when there's a national emergency, such as a hurricane, tornado, and others, that is up to the American public to deal with it and not to count on the government.
And we go to private property.
Yes. So, and the SBA has now announced that the small business loans will only be for small business and not for emergencies. FEMA will be providing assistance and helping you to get somebody else to pay for the bill. Why is that the fuck up of the week? Because you're fucking with Florida, that's a Republican state. You're fucking with North Carolina, that's a Republican state. You're fucking with all these states that Louisiana and all these states that get hit by a hurricane, and you're announcing to the people just before hurricane season has started, in the middle of hurricane season started, saying, "Hey, you're on your own." That is a fuck up. But there is one that is bigger. I'm going to end this program like I started. Minnesota is something that is regrettable. Mm-hmm. Minnesota is something that all Americans should be ashamed of. This is something that should be happening in other countries, but not in ours. When our president went on Air Force One and said that he had no reason to call the governor of Minnesota because he was stupid, because he was impolite, and because he said nasty things about him during a campaign, he does not understand that he is the consoler in general as the president, and he's supposed to say, "Look, we have our political differences, Governor. We do. I'm not going to try to pretend we don't. But I'm sad to hear what this happened in your state. I'm here for you. If there's anything the U.S. government could do to help and assist with this, I'm here for you. But not to use the death of two people, the craziness of another, to take them down simply because of their political views and express yourself that way is unacceptable." And to my fellow Democrats, let me tell you this. We need to stop thinking that everything is back to normal, that everything is going to be well. Either we change things or we're fucked forever. And with that, I will end the program.
Wow, Jimmy. That's deep. It gives us something to think about.
Oh yeah,
But
it sure does.
America has a lot in front of it right now.
Okay, America, no, Americans, because America is a great country with great outdoors and great things. The thing, America's not fucking up. It's the Americans in it.
Mm.
We look. I'm an environmentalist. Everybody knows that.
Right.
The country is the water's not getting dirty. We're dirty into the water.
Ooh.
The atmosphere is not getting dirty. We humans are doing it to the atmosphere. So it's time that we, as Americans, accept responsibility. What happened in Minnesota, is that our responsibility? Yes or no? I say
yes. All right.
All
Thank
right.
you, Jimmy. Thank you, viewers and listeners. Really appreciate it, Jimmy. Please like, share, hit the notification button.
And subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe.
That's you. And comment.
And
Don't
comment.
forget to comment. All right, Jimmy. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Sign.